Chapter 5 is strategic planning, one of my favorite topics to teach. So we'll start off with a diagram from your book that sort of illustrates the strategic planning process. First, what happens is we have to develop the plan. So we have plan development. First thing that usually happens is SWOT analysis. Anybody know what a SWOT analysis is? SWOT stands for, now let me just pause by saying that this lecture is one that you probably want to take notes on. SWOT stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. That's SWOT analysis. So your strategic plan starts here with SWOT analysis, with the development of your mission, vision, and values, and your organizational assessment. So that's the first step. And then the next step is strategy, identification, and selection. Next step is going to be strategy, tactical plans, and then rollout and implementation, and then we're going to monitor and control. So let's talk a little bit more about our planning process. Like I said, the first step is really the SWOT analysis, and we'll talk a little bit more about exactly what that means. And then we have the strategy, identification, and selection. Under this process is where we have our scenario development and our outcomes. The next thing we'll focus on is our tactical plans, which speak to the who, what, when, why, where, and hows of our plan. So next, after we've spent all this time and put all this effort into developing a plan, we have to roll it out and implement it. So that's the next step. And then after we put the plan into play, we can't just wash our hands there and say we're done. We have to monitor the plan to see how it's going. Because if the plan is not going well, we may need to start back at the top and go through this again. And then we'll also get feedback. So we may get feedback from our employees, we may get feedback from our patients or our customers as to how they feel about whatever the plan is that we implemented. So I talked about us having to do a situational assessment. And an example of that is a market assessment. And it's exactly what it says. We're assessing in a market. So examples of this is the healthcare workforce. So we may have to look at the workforce of the healthcare industry and see if there's a higher or lower demand for nurses or other providers. We have to also assess consumers and payers. So that means looking into reimbursements and how that may be changing. We have to assess any innovations in technology that may affect us. So that may mean, what are the trends in electronic medical records? What are the new pieces of equipment that we need to purchase in our imaging department to make sure that we stay up to date in technology? We have to assess the regulatory environment. What new laws have been put into play that may affect us as an organization? We also have to assess our competitors. What is First Health doing that we aren't doing here at Cape Fear? So we have to make sure that we keep a pulse on what other people are doing, specifically our competitors. And we have to assess the market. So we might do a market volume forecast, meaning we may try to forecast how many more patients are we going to have this year compared to last year. Will there be an increase of patients because of the Affordable Care Act? If the answer is yes, we need to try to forecast how many more patients that's going to mean for our hospital. So these are all things that happen under the market assessment. Does everybody understand why this type of assessment needs to be done before we even get into creating a plan? We have to also look at ourselves. So we have to do an organizational assessment. One of the things that's involved in doing this is we have to define our service area. Does everybody know what a service area is? Does anybody know what a service area is?
Maybe it's like Cape Fear, their service area is the surrounding area, maybe?
Yes, you're very close. So a service area would mean defining where our patients or our customers come from. So surrounding areas is a start, but when you're defining the service area, it gets more specific, down to like zip codes. So how many patients are we getting from 28311? How many patients are we getting from each zip code? That's how we would drill down into defining our service area. So you're very close. We have to also look at our financial condition. How are we doing as an organization? Are we in the red? Are we losing money? Are we doing great? Are we making money? And the major indicators that we would look at to assess our financial condition is the operating margin, the net income, and gross net revenue. And we also have to look at our strategic performance. How have we done in the past with other plans that we've implemented? Have they gone well? Have they not gone well? So we have to look at the past and assess how things went. And then the last thing we want to look at is our core capabilities. What areas within our hospital is our bread and butter? What are we really good at? Do we have a phenomenal heart surgery department, or is our imaging department just the best in the area? So we want to look at our core capabilities, what areas we're really good at, what areas that may need growth or more development. So all of these things are things that we consider within our organizational assessment. Organizational assessment, again, is our assessment of us, our organization. We're going to talk a little bit about mission, vision, and values because it's very, very important. So the mission is exactly as it says, a statement of purpose. Your mission statement tells why you're here, why you're in existence, why are you in business, what is your purpose, what are you in business to do, what are you in business to provide. Our vision is also a statement, but it identifies a future state of the organization. So it's forward-looking, futuristic. So a vision statement might say to become the leader in healthcare technology. Our values are what define our organizational culture. And a lot of times with value statements, you'll find that people will use acronyms, like they may use CARE, and the C may be compassion, and the A may stand for something else, or R may stand for something else, and the E may stand for something else. So the values are typically words that define the organizational culture. Now, just a few minutes ago, I said that these things are very important. Why do you think these things are important during the planning process?
I think the mission statement is really important because it gives not only the organization but at the individual level people something for people to hold on to. Like they know that they are making a difference, to know they're part of an organization that's doing something good, and that could help.
Yeah, absolutely. To go on to what you said though, speaking in terms of planning, why would the mission statement along with the vision and values be critical to the planning process?
It's kind of like the framework too.
It is the framework. When you're developing a plan, if the plan that you're developing is not in alignment with these things, you're in essence wasting your time. If your mission is to provide to uninsured and to provide charity care, would a plan to build a spa in your hospital be feasible? Because it's not in line with what your mission is, right? So before you even get deep into developing your plan, you always want to come back here, look at the mission, the vision, and the values to see how you need to develop your plan and if your idea is aligned with what has defined your organization. So like you said, it's basically the framework of your plan or the anchor of your plan. Very important. So this is a figure that's from your textbook that summarizes the market assessment that we just talked about, shows you the different things that contribute to the market assessment, so competitive rivalry, regulatory, innovation, technology, your healthcare workforce, your consumers and payers, and this is us in the middle, it's our hospital. So moving on to our next step, strategy, identification, and selection. These are the things that fall under this step. So the first thing is scenario exploration. Scenario explanation deals with exploring different scenarios. So when you're planning something, we may not always necessarily know exactly how the plan is going to go. So we have to do a little bit of scenario exploration to see what the different outcomes might be, right? We also have to make some assumptions. Why might making assumptions be important?
So you're kind of ready for everything, so you don't go into a plan thinking, oh, it's going to work, and then a monkey wrench.
Right. Right, so assumptions are very important. It's going to be critical to the planning process. Also, because if this is a brand new plan, we may not have anything in the past to look at. We may not have any data from the past to look at. So we may have to make some assumptions on a couple of things to make sure that we can complete our plan. We have to set some type of targets financially. Again, if we're rolling out this plan and we have no sense of financial in it, we may come up short, right? So we have to have some financial targets that we plan to meet, as well as resource matching. And then again, we have to evaluate what the outcomes may be. So all of this goes on under the strategy, identification, and selection step. So next we have tactical plans. Under tactical plans, we have the implementation steps, time frames, and results. So anybody give me an example of some type of plan that we want to implement at our hospital. Any plan.
I guess the evacuation plan, that could be one.
All right, so we'll go with that, evacuation plan. So the first thing we'll do, and this is an example of a tactical plan template. First thing we have to do is establish a goal. So what's the goal of developing an evacuation plan?
Maybe to cut our time down in half of what like our.
So we want to reduce the time
and
of evacuation. All right, so that's gonna be our goal. All right, in order to reach that goal, what might be some key actions? And anybody can help her.
One could be maybe to assign people to their, kind of like how we did that.
So
assign
one key
people.
action will be that we have to assign tasks. Any other key actions? And again, the key actions are related to the goal. So what key actions do we have to make sure are done in order to reduce the time for our evacuation plan?
Maybe do, well, one of them could be to assign people to every wing or, whatever hall. And then, maybe give classes so that every employee's tracking exactly where all the exits are.
So training.
Training it.
All right, so we'll say that our two key actions are to assign duties and to provide training. So next, we have to have a target completion date as to when we want this to be done. So we have to put a date in here. And then the next step is going to be resources. What resources do we need to make sure we carry out those key actions that are going to make us hit our goal? So an example for resources might be, maybe a resource is bringing someone in from the outside to do our training, right? So that could be one of the resources. Now, the dependencies. Dependencies are going to be the things that you need or that you will depend on to make this happen. So one dependency may be strong leadership or strong management. There could be other dependencies also.
Communication.
Communication. There could be a long list of dependencies here. But the take home here is to know that these are the must-have, or these are the things we're going to depend on to make sure that our key actions happen and so that we can reach our goal. The next column is revenue projection. Most things cost money, so we need to project here how much money it will take for our plan to be put into play. And then last one's important. Last one is success metric. So what type of metric will we have that will show us that we've reached our goal?
Maybe when we do the drill, we can have like someone time it.
Right.
Yeah.
So the time, a reduced or a decreased time will be a success metric. But you have to remember, when you're setting up this template, it has to be very specific. So instead of just saying time here, we might say 30 minutes because we want it to be really specific. So instead of just saying time, our success metric may be evacuation in 30 minutes. So what we just did is we went through the steps that it would take to develop a plan or a tactical plan. And this could be used, we just used the example of evacuation, but this could be used for any type of plan that you're trying to implement within your organization. This is very helpful because it helps to drill down and really make things specific so that you know exactly what you have to do in order to roll out the plan. Does anybody have any questions about this and how we went through that? So we've gotten our plan, we've done our assessment, we've done our tactical plan template. Next up is an exciting one, rollout and implementation. So at this step, this is where all of our hard work actually is able to be put to play, and we're actually rolling out our plan. And the steps under rolling it out is, number one step is, before we can do anything else, you gotta make sure it gets approved, right? So this plan will have to go to the Board of Governors or the Board of Trustees, and they will have to approve or endorse the plan. Why might they not approve the plan? What are some reasons that they might not approve the plan? So we have to know this going in. Budget. This is too expensive. We cannot afford it. X. No. Go back and try again, right? So that's a good one. Any others?
Maybe for safety reasons, they might think that 30 minutes is, people will get lost.
So safety, so we have to consider safety. They might not approve because they don't deem it safe enough.
Or they could just think it's not as good as the plan before it.
They might just not like the plan. There's one reason missing that's probably the most important, the main reason why it might not get approved, that we just talked about. Maybe like 3 slides ago.
Oh, it's not conducive to the mission statement?
Yes. If we are trying to roll out some plan that is in no way in agreement with our mission, our vision, and our values, it's actually the board's job to not approve it. That's what they're there for, to evaluate. Everything goes through them so they can make sure that it's in line with what our purpose is. If it's not in line with what our mission is, what our vision is, they're probably not going to approve it. All the other reasons were true as well. It may be over budget, it may be not a good plan, but the number one thing they're always going to look at first is, does this match our organizational culture? Does this match our mission? If not, they're going to send it back. So that's the first step. Got to get it approved by the board. Once that happens, if we're able to get it approved, then we still have a few other plans that we have to develop. So the first is an operating plan. Operating plan involves operations. So it will involve, are there going to be any more staffing members needed for this plan? How might this change the workflow of our operations from day to day? All those things will be discussed in the operating plan. Then we have a marketing plan. What do you guys think the marketing plan is for?
Money.
I'm sorry?
The money part of it.
Money?
Yeah. How they're gonna invest it in, what they would, end up buying and spreading out.
Close. You're close. Think about in terms of marketing in general. What is marketing in general about? Budget and what else? Getting the word out, right?
Yeah.
When you're marketing something to people, you're spreading the word. So this marketing plan is going to speak to this new plan that we have. how are we gonna market it? How are we gonna let people know about it? Are we going to have billboards? We're gonna have commercials? We're gonna have radio commercials? Are we going to do a social media blitz and spread the word on Facebook or Twitter? So the marketing plan includes all the details behind how we're gonna market our new plan. Then we have facilities plan. What do you guys think that is? This one may be a little bit difficult. So the facilities plan deals with the actual facility, the hospital facility. So if our plan is to expand our hospital by 50 beds or 50 rooms, how would this affect the facility? Will that mean that we have to renovate our utilities, our piping, our electrical wiring? Does that mean that we have to create space for more bathrooms, for public bathrooms for our customers? So everything involved with the facilities and any changes that may occur as a part of our plan being rolled out is included in the facilities plan. And then the capital plan, now we're back to what you were talking about. The capital plan includes everything involving money. How are we going to fund this plan, this project? How are we going to fund our renovations? Are we going to pay cash? Are we going to get a loan? Do we have people that are making endorsements? So the capital plan discusses the money. In addition to how we're going to fund it, are we funding this in 3 years, 5 years, 10 years? So all the financial specifics are detailed in the capital plan. So to kind of go over this again, even if we develop a plan to expand our hospital by 50 beds, we still have to have these smaller plans in addition to the larger plan of expanding, because they speak specifically to all the changes or must-haves that we are going to need to be able to roll this out. Does that make sense? Here is a diagram that kind of illustrates what I was just saying. So in the middle, you have your strategic plan. Our strategic plan would be to expand our hospital by 50 beds. And coming out from that big strategic plan are these little plans that we still need: our marketing plan, operating plan, financial plan, capital plan, facilities plan. Some will have a communications plan. So all of these are still necessary to be in conjunction with our major strategic plan. Does that make sense? Does anybody have any questions about what we talked about? Again, this is a very important chapter. And a lot of things that you see, a lot of changes that you see, this new facility out in Hope County by Cape Fear, those things don't just happen like this. There's a lot of planning that has to go into building a new facility, making renovations. Any changes that organizations make start here with the planning process. And this is what they have to go through in order to get to a nice, pretty facility. So these are very important. And a lot of times these things happen behind the scenes. People don't know that this is going on. But most hospitals will have their own planning department. And this is all they do year round. This is all they do is develop plans for the hospital so that they can roll out new plans, they can roll out new facilities. But none of that stuff will happen without a sound plan. If you don't have any other questions, I'm gonna let you guys escape the snow. And I will send out an email once I know what's gonna happen for Thursday, as far as if we're gonna have class or not. Stay warm, be safe, and I may or may not see you on Thursday.